everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Madupa. I'm a corporate professional. I make YouTube videos about the corporate world, targeting young people, graduates, people in the corporate world, people who want to climb the corporate ladder. And yeah, I'm just here to give advice and share my experiences. In this video, I'm going to be talking about all the different interview questions I've been asked for finance roles. So I'm going to be sharing with you the typical questions I get and the way I've thought about answering them, or the way I've actually answered them. So I really hope this video is useful for you and you can get something out of this video in your next interview. Okay, so now the very first question you get asked in, I think, any type of interview is that they ask you, can you tell me about yourself? Now this question is key. The reason why this question is so important is because this is the first it's like your intro and like a summary of who you are as a person and why you are really good for the role. And from this, they're able to understand, like, see your personality, the way you speak, the way you present information. Essentially that's what it is. And when an employer asks you to tell them about yourself, it's not a life history. You need to summarize, give bullet points. And now the way I answered this is, the first thing I do is start with my experiences and education. So if you're a graduate, you probably have limited experience. And now what you want to focus on is your education and what you've done outside of your education. And you just want to bring some personality with it. So for example, with me, when they ask me, tell me about yourself, I start off with my A-levels and why I studied it. So I studied maths, chemistry, economics, and biology. I explain why I chose these subjects, and I chose these subjects because it's very quantitative, it's very challenging. There's a lot of numbers involved with it, and it requires logic. Immediately they can see, like, the things I'm saying is already correlating with what they want for that role, the kind of person they want, the kind of qualities they want for that position that they are recruiting for. So that's how I start off. So I start with my A-levels, then I explain, okay, I went to university and this is what I studied at university. But then I explain why I chose that subject. So I studied economics, and I chose economics because it has a very good balance between theory and like numbers and numeracy. It has a lovely balance. It helps you understand the way money works, the way the world works, understand how leaders make critical decisions about the economy, trying to explain the economy and the way people think and the way the world works using numbers and graphs. And I find that fascinating. So that's where you want to go on to. And then I go on to explaining what my favorite module was at university. So for me, my favorite module was international money and finance. And I explained why it was. Okay, why was it my favorite module? Well, there's a specific assignment that I had to do in that module where I had to analyze the balance sheets and like annual reports of a company. Immediately saying that, again, that relates to the role. So because I know that's the kind of things I will be doing that role, then I mentioned that that's what I really enjoyed at university. So they're getting an insight into who I am, but it's extremely relevant to that role. So that's what you want to do when you explain, tell me about yourself. It's not tell me your whole history. You need to be making sure that whatever you're saying, it correlates to the role. And then I explained my extracurricular activities. Yeah, I was course rep for the economics department. So what I did was that I would be like a liaison between students and the committee. So I would relay students' concerns and how they felt about the course and things they felt like could improve and help their learning. And I'll take this to the committee. So I explained that my achievements. So you want to focus on achievements. What have you achieved? What have you done to actually add value? That could be during teamwork. That could be during a challenging exercise. That could be, doesn't even have to be have to do with uni or work. It could be to do with, I don't know, things that you enjoy. Maybe you love playing sports. So you want to really explain how you've added value. So these are the things you want to convey when they ask you, tell me about yourself. The next question I get in interviews is what are your 3 strengths and 3 weaknesses? So with my key strengths, again, this shouldn't be too difficult to answer, because the strengths you're going to convey would be in the job description. So what they're looking for, usually with finance roles, they're looking for someone who's very analytical, someone who can work under pressure, a problem solver, someone who can take their own initiative. So these are the things you want to be saying are your strengths, and it will be great if you can give an example. You don't have to give an example of each, but just give at least one example to just show that, okay, these are the key strengths that you have. You just want to make sure the strengths you mention actually match up with what is in the job description. Now, so your weaknesses. So usually they could ask, okay, what's your biggest weakness, or what are your main weaknesses? And the one weakness I usually give is I'm impatient, or I usually, is either I'm impatient or I don't really like, oh, I like to understand something quickly, even though I need to take time. I know that I need to relax and take in the overall picture and wait for it to appear, whereas usually I like to know everything, so I put that down as a weakness. And what you want to be careful with weaknesses is you don't want to give weaknesses such as, oh, I'm not really strong with numbers, or I'm not really analytical. You don't want things like that. You don't want to say things like that, because obviously they're not going to hire you. You're saying your weaknesses are what they're looking for as strengths in a candidate. So you don't want to give that. So you want to be honest, but at the same time, you want to be smart about the way you say it. That's the thing, because you don't want to give a weakness that comes out as a strength. They can see right through that. So that would be my advice. So pick a weakness that you know could be easily worked on, or you can even, when you give a weakness, you actually explain how you're working on that weakness, or how you're working on improving that weakness. So another question I get a lot is why the switch? So if you didn't know previously, I was working as an economic consultant. So I was working within consulting, and obviously when I was applying for these finance jobs, in interviews they will ask me, oh, why are you switching from economic consulting to finance? It seems like your your work sounds interesting. It seems like you do a lot of great things. The way I go about answering this question is I really know why I want to move into finance, and that's because I enjoy looking at numbers. And not only that, I really want to understand what makes a business and how money moves within an organization, and understanding financial information. And I wasn't doing that with my previous role. And I explained how I want to build financial models and cash flow forecasting. And I even gone further to explain that I've actually done some part of it in my role as an economic consultant, but not to great detail. And when I was doing those activities or those duties, I realized that actually I really enjoy this and I want to do more of this. So that's the way I answered that question. So you really want to understand, you need to be prepared. Why do you want to work in finance? Why is finance attractive to you? Another question I get asked is, what do you understand about the role? So now, this is needless to say, you need to understand the job description. You need to read the job description. You need to be prepared. They can ask you anything about the job role. So the way I like to do this, rather than just reading out, okay, step by step what the role involves, try to understand, where does the role sit in the organization? Get an overview of the organization. So, for example, I currently work within Treasury, and Treasury is fundamental in understanding like the funding side of the business, how the company that I work for, how they fund the loans that they give out to individuals and organizations. So you really want to understand that role. Without that role, what will happen with the company? So that's how you want to explain, how important the role is, or what is the role about, rather than just sitting down, the role involves me doing this and this. I'm not saying you should mention it, but I'm saying don't sit there just listing out the bullet points they've already put in the job description. You want to explain it in such a way that they understand that, okay, you understand the role, you understand why this role is needed, and what would happen if that role wasn't there. So that's the way you want to explain what the role is about. And following up to that, they also usually ask, why do you want to work for this company? Now, again, it's kind of like similar with what is this role? What do you know about this role? Because you don't want to sit there just like saying what is already on the company website. You need to say things that makes that company special. So I think the best place to start is to try to understand what makes that company different from other companies. What values does that company have? So with my previous company, one thing that they did really value is safety. And best way to actually know this, so sometimes just reading off the company website might not give you unique things that you can say in the interview. So one thing I would say is that look at other sources apart from the company website, and also ask people who already work at the company, oh, can you tell me what your company is about? Can you tell me things about the company that might not be readily available on the company website? So you want to be like, you want to give unique things where they think, oh, okay, so how did you know that? Like something that's the way you explain, you give your answer, you want it to be unique to that company and not give an answer whereby it could be any company you're talking about. Another question I get is, what do you look for in a manager? What qualities are important to you in a manager? So the way I answered this, I'm just actually being honest. I look for a manager that is 100% invested in my development. So if I'm trying to, I don't know, train for a qualification or understand a certain topic better or be integrated into a certain team so I can understand what they do better, I want a manager who will be very, very supportive. Because with me, what's important is that when I'm in a company or when I'm in a role, I want to learn as much as possible. I'm not just in that company just, okay, yeah, just get my salary and that's it. No, it's really important that when you're in a company, you're really upskilling yourself. So when you want to progress within that company, or when you want to move to a different company, you can have something to, something to show for real. Say that, okay, these are the qualities I have, these are the skills I've learned, this is what I need, this is what I can do. If you can't do that, if you don't have a manager that helps you upskill yourself, then it makes things difficult, and then it makes it harder for you to progress. So that's one thing that's the main thing I always look for, a manager that's supportive. And another thing is a manager that will let you know if you've done something wrong on the spot. So if I've done something wrong, I like a manager to let me know immediately so I know how I can improve, rather than 5-6 months down the line just let me know that, oh yeah, Modipe, what you did on that last project, I didn't like that, or you weren't quick with this work. But okay, you're telling me 6 months later, it doesn't really, do you get what I'm saying? So those are the main things I look for in a manager. So you just want to think, what do you want? Like, if someone that will support you, someone that will help you improve and help you become better at what you do. So I think those are good things to really say in an interview, and when it comes to that question. Another question that I've been asked is, how do you work best? Do you work best independently, or do you work best in a team? And the way I answered this is, I always give the answer as both. I work well with a good mixture. So I understand that sometimes I like to work independently. I like to figure out things myself because I feel like it tests me, it challenges me, and I feel like I learn better that way once I've tried to do something myself, rather than just asking people for help all the time. I like working as a team as well, because I feel like I can learn from other people, and it feels great to like accomplish things together. So that's the answer I always give. I never say that, oh, I prefer working independently, because it makes it look like, you're not a team player, or you can't work with other people. And, working with other people is essential with any role. So yeah, that's the answer I always give. I like both, because employees like someone who can work independently, who can get the job done by themselves and doesn't need someone to hold their hand, but also like someone who's open to discussing things, who's open to asking for help and working with other people. Another question I feel like everyone has been asked is, where do you see yourself in 5 years time? The way I answered this is that I kind of a little vague, because you want to be careful with this question, because you can say something whereby it's not related to the role you're applying for at all. So the way I answered this is that I say that in 5 years time, I see myself in a managerial role, in a role where I'm training other people, and I know more about the business. I understand how the different functions of the business integrates, and I have greater commercial awareness, and where I can really add more value to the company. So that's the kind of answer that I give for that question. So another question I get asked is, give me an example of where you've had a difficult task to accomplish, or where you've worked as a leader. Those kind of questions. Now, I feel like these questions are quite easy, and you should not struggle with these ones. Just good preparation is important to answer these questions properly. So, give an example of where there was a problem. So, give an example where there was a problem. That could be maybe you had a task that you had to finish in a strict deadline, or it could be that you had to learn something. So, for example, I think in one interview, I gave an example where I worked on a project whereby I had to do something called land value uplift, and I hadn't done it before, and I had to do it in a short space of time, and my manager or my colleague explained how I could do it in just 10 minutes, but I kind of like figured it out myself, reading, taking notes from that short meeting, looking at other projects and reading certain materials to help me understand how to do this land value uplift. So you want to give something, so you want there to be a problem, a challenge, a dilemma, something, either it was time constraint, or either it was maybe presenting to people you hadn't presented to before, how you were able to get out of that problem. So, and what you learned from it, and how you plan to take what you learned from it and moving forward. So that's how you want to go about answering that question. And this question I'm going to put out there because I haven't been asked it. I've only been asked this once, but I feel like it's important because you get all these questions that kind of creep out. So one question I've been asked in an interview, and I wasn't prepared for this, was so they asked you, okay, what is a balance sheet? Again, you can research this. And they also asked, okay, have you seen the balance sheet of our company? What can you tell us? One thing I'll suggest to you when preparing for a finance interview is that you actually look at the company's financial record, look at their balance sheet, see how they're doing, because this is a question you can get. And even putting that aside, I think it's even good to kind of show that you understand how the company has been performing, because you have to think about it as a finance role. They expect you to look at the financial background of the company, and whether you see the company being there in 5-10 years time. That is a question that kind of got me off guard, and I think it was a question that kind of let me down for that specific interview. But yeah, I think there's a lot more questions I've been asked, but please let me know if you want a part 2 to this video. I really hope it has been helpful, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.